Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Storytime with Uncle Monkey. I am your Uncle Monkey, and today's story is The Princess and the Pea. Once upon a time, there was a powerful queen who was used to getting exactly what she wanted. She accepted nothing less than the best, and she also wanted nothing but the best for her son. She only clothed him in the finest suits, only fed him gourmet foods, and hired the smartest teachers, like Uncle Monkey, in all the land to educate him. So, when it was time for him to be married, she told him, "Son, you deserve the best woman in the whole world. Do not settle for just any pretty face. A prince must be married to a princess. But remember, a real princess is not just the daughter of a king and a queen. A real princess is delicate, refined, and eats only the finest food. She is well educated, and she reads only the greatest books and poems. She wears the loveliest dresses and carries herself with grace and dignity. And the first thing you will notice, a real princess has the voice of an angel like your dear sweet mother." With that, the prince set off with his servants in search of a princess for his very own. After he had traveled for several days, he reached the nearest kingdom. When he came to the castle, he introduced himself as the prince of the neighboring kingdom. When he met the king and queen, they were immediately impressed by how handsome and polite he was. They thought right away that it would be a good idea to introduce this prince to their daughter, a princess who was not yet married. They brought the prince to the princess's study, where she was busy reading poetry as a servant fixed her hair. The prince was happy to see that she was very beautiful, and she smiled as the prince greeted her. "Hello, princess."
Hello?
Squawked the princess. Are you all right, princess? Can I bring you a glass of water?"
No, I'm not thirsty.
Replied the princess, smiling politely. "Well, it was lovely to meet you. Uh, it's getting late. I really must be going." As he left, he felt badly for leaving so abruptly. But he reminded himself of what his mother said, that a real princess has the voice of an angel. The good part was that it was actually not late at all. The prince had plenty of time to set out for the next closest kingdom, where he again found the castle and asked to meet the king and the king. Again, he was so charming that he was immediately invited to meet the unmarried princess of the kingdom. This time, the king and the king led the prince to the castle's dining hall. This princess was also very beautiful, but when the prince entered, she hardly looked up at him. She was sitting at the table, eating like a pig, with food dripping from her face and in her hands. Hello, princess. It looks like you're very busy, so I'll just leave you alone with your food. Have a nice day." He continued on, through valleys and over endless stretches of plains, but at each castle he stopped at, he met only disappointment. Finally, the prince gave up and returned home, still very much unmarried and very disappointed by such a long and fruitless journey. When he arrived at his own castle, his mother and father greeted him. The prince told his parents the whole story of his journey. His mother was especially sad for him, but she was also glad he had not chosen to marry any of those princesses that he met. That night there was a terrible thunderstorm, and then there was a knock at the door. A servant went to answer the door, and a young woman stood outside, dressed in a heavy cloak, soaking wet from the rain. The prince happened to be walking past, but when he heard the voice of the young woman, he stopped in his tracks. She explained to the servant, "My driver got lost in the rain, and we saw the light from your castle. Would you be kind enough to provide us with shelter just for tonight?" She had the voice of an angel, and the prince knew immediately that this must be his princess. He quickly ran up and excused the servant. Of course, you are welcome to stay here, good lady. Let me take your coat. When she pulled off the hood from her head, the prince thought that she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen in his life. Thank you so much, kind sir. The prince was so excited after he made sure his guest was settled in, he ran to tell his mother what had happened. But right after he told her the story, she scoffed. My dear son, she is no princess. What kind of a princess goes out in the rain knocking on doors in the middle of the night? Shouldn't she have her servant do that? She peeked into the hall and got a good look at the princess. She was appalled to see her with dripping wet hair and a muddy gown. You see, she is no more than a common peasant. But mother, look at how she walks. I've never seen anything so graceful. The queen could see that her son had already fallen for the girl, so she quickly devised a plan to get rid of her. All right then, if you don't believe me, I will put her to a test. Tonight, we will dress her bed with 10 of the softest, fluffiest, most luxurious feather mattresses in the castle. Then, under the 10th mattress, we will place a single pea, uncooked. If this pea disturbs her sleep, then we will know that she is really a princess, because only a real princess would be delicate and refined enough to feel the pea. The prince didn't think that anybody would be able to feel the pea, but he also knew that his mother knew best. Besides, he thought, he didn't want to marry anything less than a real princess. So the queen ordered her servants to gather the best mattresses they could find, even her own mattress, and bring them to the guest tower. Then she took a single uncooked pea and put it right in the middle of the bed, under the 10th mattress, and had the servants stack them all up on top. Then the prince escorted the guest to her room, where she needed a ladder to get into the bed. In the morning, the prince went to the dining hall and peeked inside to get a look at his love. She looked terrible. She had dark circles under her eyes and was sipping a very large cup of tea. I am so tired, the princess told the servant. Please do not tell the prince, but that bed is awful. I felt like there was a brick inside it. I did not sleep a wink all night. The prince, hearing this, rushed to her side and knelt before her. You are a true princess, aren't you? Please marry me and live here, and I will get you any mattress you choose, I promise. The princess looked shocked, but then smiled and said, Yes, I will marry you, as long as I don't have to sleep on that bed ever again. The next day, after the princess got a good night's sleep without the pea to disturb her, the prince and the princess were married, and they lived happily ever after. The end.